at?
Okay, so thank you for you to join us today. Thank you so much. So who who of you that are watching now, if you are watching now live or recorded on YouTube, I wanted to say a few words about IWCA because maybe you guys don't know much about our work. So we are an international network that aims to connect and empower women in all of the world, women in coffee. So we look for, we search for, and we fight for the gender equity in the coffee sector. I am Isabel Vilela. I am from IWCA Brazil. And here in Brazil, we are 550 women connected by IWCA Brazil's work. And we are across 11 different regions, coffee regions in Brazil. So today we're gonna have some friends from Mexico and Kenya and Aline from Brazil that will be the host. So with no furthermore, I will pass the mic to Aline. So Aline, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Isabel. Hello, girls. Hello, everyone which is watching us now. This is the second round of the day of the YWCA connection. The purpose of those meetings which are happening today is to bring different perspective about women in coffee. So I would like to thank everyone who is here with us, especially to the YWCA members, Rosa Cantú from Mexico, and Mbula Musau from Kenya. I'm Aline Codo. I'm a proud generation of coffee grower and the first woman in coffee in my family. So thank you, IWCA Brazil, to the invitation to moderate this panel. I'm very honored. Well, good morning, Rosa, and good evening, Mbula, because it's different time. So could you please introduce yourself to everyone which is here, please? So could Rosa,
would you like to go?
So I begin. Hi, my name is Rosalena Cantú. I am from Mexico, and I'm the president of the Mexican chapter of the IWCA. I am an architect, doesn't have anything to do with coffee. So that's what I thought before I begin in this world. My father founded a company in the 90s. He always had been working in the coffee industry and in coffee policies. He was the director of the Mexican Institute of Coffee when it was on work. And well, I took the family company, and that's what we are doing now. In the Mexican chapter, we are so happy to be here. It's like a dream coming true to be in the Brazilian Coffee Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mbula, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Mbula. I'm the founder and chief empowerment officer of IWCA Coffee Limited. We're basically doing coffee education, internationally accredited coffee education for the region, for Africa, for Kenyans, and for the world, giving access to people to get their capacity built in terms of specialty coffee. We are also trading in coffee, so we are doing green and roasted value addition for local markets and for the trade. I do a lot of work for women and youth in the coffee sector. I serve as a mentor and a facilitator for African women in coffee chapters, which necessitates that I'm a member of all of them. And this is a result of having been part of the process of the formation and empowering the chapters to trade and export. So that's where my passion lies, obviously, in addition to coffee quality and training. My background is in business, so I am a marketing professional in terms of academic qualifications, and also mastered in development management. I just feel like this work together with issues such as gender, women in coffee, and many other emerging issues in the coffee sector. And I also serve on the board of directors of the SCA and the Coffee Coalition for Racial Equity, which was recently formed. I see Josiane here. We sit on the same board for at least addressing some of the racial inequities that exist in coffee, or attempting to do so. Also volunteered a lot in doing trainings. As you can tell, my forte is empowerment and capacity building, because I think it's an important pillar to understanding the sector and to growing and thriving in the sector. I guess we'll talk more a little bit later. That's a little bit about me. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. We appreciate those two brave women, coffee women. So we have some questions. So I'm gonna launch the first one, which is: women have always been present in all the coffee value chain activities. Today, technology and communication are easier. What would be the best way to make women's work more visible and better appreciated? Could you, Rosa, begin, please? We are not hearing. Oh, the microphone.
Sorry, now, sorry. I think that today the conversation is about women, and we can find each other in all areas. And the feminist movements are, I think, revolutionizing the world. However, this is still not enough. And inequality continues to impose us a social and an economic cost, which at least today can be relatively measured. But although measurement is good for, as a good beginning, it's not enough to know the percentage of women that is participating in any activity. It is also necessary to start including indicators of the direct effects of our involvement. And that is, for example, what is the impact of our activities on the family economy, on financial independence, on decision-making, on changes in businesses, in business practices, access to markets, and what control do we have over resources and the improvement of our living conditions. For this measurement and this conversation to take place, in our chapter, we believe that the principle is the development of personal skills as the foundation of effective empowerment. My colleague and sister, Gisela Yescas from Veracruz, she works in a very big cooperative, has developed a self-diagnosis model within families, organization, or institution that is based on three things. The first one, it's a real measurement of the resources that are available for women labor, projects, and development. The second one is the definition of the rules that can ensure the transformation and also commitments of the institution. And the third one is the creation of the networks that can facilitate this distribution and this commitment. The model that we are promoting recognized for the first step the individuality of each woman in the coffee value chain, from the production to the consumption. But above all, it values the role that each of us has in the construction and the facilitation of this community. Our organization focuses on the family, women, men, youth, children, and the elderly, and as the productive base of a feminist coffee rather than a feminine coffee. This coffee recognizes the participation of women in all the sector, and we are convinced that the construction of any equitable and inclusive coffee sector is a responsibility for both public and private sectors. We know that it is possible to build an agenda that can impact the sector, and at the same time will respond to the universal challenges that we have today.
Thank you. Mbula, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing this up. Coffee is one of those value chains that you cannot eliminate the role of the woman. The only thing you can do is kind of silence it, which has happened over the years for a long time. And with technology and communication being easier now, there is many tools and many opportunities for us to change this narrative. But where I would start is bring up the history, educate people on what actually happens at farm level. I think in my work in coffee, my travels in coffee, I came to realize that there are a number of people who do not know coffee anywhere until it becomes the roasted bean. Like if you told them that it starts out as a fruit or from a tree, they don't go that far back. And so bringing this up in education and letting people know that there is a process of actually getting it all the way there. And that is where a lot of labor happens. In most origin countries, it is women who not only do the work, but are also entrusted with the meticulous need to, let's say, for example, select red ripe cherry or sort the coffee. And without that initial meticulous ability to get quality coffee, then you wouldn't be able to get a good quality roasted bean or even a good beverage at the end of the value chain. So getting this information out there, taking people back to the roots of coffee literally would enable the work that women do be more visible and more appreciated, because it's also hard work. It's not the easiest thing to do. It's much easier to, pick everything, strip the trees and take the coffee for weighing. But inherently, women are known to have the ability and the patience to go a step further to ensure quality. So this is actually a positive thing that sometimes is not known, is not brought to the fore. And so if it's mentioned and this credit given to women, it would go a long way. I think also just ensuring that the list of the chain, every step of the coffee value chain is understood. And then where the women are involved, those areas are also raised, giving real examples of women who have succeeded in carrying out very important roles that ensure quality or a specialty cup of coffee lands on the table. That starts to get people thinking that there is value in what women are doing at whatever areas that they are placed. When a coffee wins Cup of Excellence or Taste of Harvest or any other coffee competition, credit should not start from the points. This coffee is an 88. How did it get to an 88? Credit needs to go back all the way to the pickers and the sorters and the lab assistants, most of who are women who roast the coffee, who set up and conduct cupping, and sometimes even enabled or empowered, utilize their natural endowment to discover some of these best coffees. I've been to countries where they have like a national jury before a cupping competition. And what I've seen is that majority of the national jury are actually women cuppers. And not because of any other reason, but because there's a natural endowment for sampling and tasting as a result of your day-to-day as a woman, cooking, tasting, nurturing. It kind of hones the skill of tasting. And so this is something that can also be brought to the fore. It's interesting. There shouldn't only be selected or selective pictures of who is doing the background work of selecting the coffees that will finally go to the final. It should be a celebrated step of getting to those quality coffees. And I think building on that, women should then be given opportunities to attend trainings, especially in areas that they're built to thrive. Okay, so I'm an instructor for the Q and the SCA courses, and I've seen many occasions where women are left out of the opportunities to attend these trainings, especially when you have institutions making this decision or donor companies coming in to support empowerment or capacity building. The selection is more often than not skewed. And I mean, I've taken pictures of my classes over the years, and at some point we started to insist that the positions or the spaces need to be split equally, or at least make sure that there's involvement of women. And now I find myself actually asking for the list of participants. I'm like, can I see the list of participants? And even if I won't change anything, I make a comment that, hey, this list looks a little bit skewed. And yet we know that there's already a natural endowment that is being ignored. Not to say that men are not gifted, but it's also trying to say that there is equal, if not more gifting in some of these professional roles of tasting. And so the training that is given should definitely involve women. Q grader, SCS, sensory, green, and so on. Women also make great baristas. And I always say women are trusted. They're the ones who are brewing the beverages at home. They're the ones who determine during breakfast what's going to be made. They are the ones brewing coffee in the offices. Most offices I've gone to are talking about a tea girl or a coffee girl. How come the women then are not brought to the fore when it comes to national competitions? What this tells me is that they can be groomed to be winning baristas. They can be groomed to be winning cup tasters, latte art champions, and represent their companies and countries. So bringing this data of who is doing what in institutions and in countries would go a long way in highlighting the work. And I'll give an example of International Women Coffee Alliance chapter in Uganda that's getting very deeply involved in policy at a governmental level. So they have gone a step higher to involve the government in making gender decisions. Coffee is a big income earner in the country. And now I think some of you have seen videos of them engaging the government in making some of these decisions. And so it's a result of data that has been collected over time. Data is powerful, and it becomes impossible to ignore activities that women are involved in when we use technology to spread the word and make it visible to all. So I believe that seizing these tools that are now available to us and being advocates of each other, taking advantage of every opportunity to shine the light on good work that has been done by both men and women, but more especially women because they've been left out for a very long time, would definitely change the narrative positively. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What would you be your recommendation for young to keep working in the coffee industry? Rosa, please.
Thank you. I think that involving youth from the beginning through all the processes can also give the family a new vision of the impact and value of their efforts. But they need to see that effort is worth. So I am convinced that the sustainability of this sector must be based on remuneration. And that's the price of the activity that can ensure a dignified livelihood for the coffee families. Because beyond the products, as Mbula said, this remuneration must recognize the investment that the coffee families are making in their farms and in their communities. And that investment has an economic and an environmental, a social, and a cultural effect of which we are all beneficiaries. We can, for example, value coffee beyond the bean. And it seems to me that the market is beginning to demand this information. Traceability no longer deals only with the characteristics of the bean, but it has begun to include the honest and verifiable history of the cultivation and the social practices that occur in each community. So I think that a good price is the beginning for youth involucration.
Thank you. Mbula, please.
Thank you for that question. Another area that I'm very passionate about keeping youth working in the coffee industry. Just to add on what Rosa has said, I think it's important to show the youth success. Show the youth by example that coffee can be a successful venture. When youth see coffee as a punishment and an arduous, back-breaking task, if all they see is picking coffee and carrying it to the factory and parents complaining about the price and about the fluctuating market prices, unfortunately, they will end up fleeing from it as soon as they get the opportunity to do so. And that is the case in many countries, starting with Kenya. We've done a little bit of research. People see the coffee roasted and brewed and presented in a cafe, and they will always tell you, you know, I come from a coffee family, but it is not what you see at this time. We've grown up knowing that coffee is a difficult, non-rewarding opportunity. So as Rosa says, remuneration is important, and a demonstration of success is important. And this is possible through technology. When you see coffee stakeholders succeeding and excelling and attending fairs such as these that are now even made more available in this type of crisis, and you know, showing competitions where young people like them can attend and participate would be another way to do it. I know there are youth that have not the opportunity to inherit coffee or work in coffee farms. So showing again, once again, using technology to demonstrate all areas that they can plug in. That means there's an opportunity at every level based on your passion, your interest, and your talent. And at that point, then we guide them and mentor them to choose a path. What are they good at? Do they want to go the direction of coffee shops? Do they want to be professional tasters? Do they want to roast coffee and sell and retail it or wholesale it? Do they want to be traders and export? Do they want to farm and apply digital ways of getting the coffee that they thought was such a difficult process at farm level to ensure higher successes because of the tools they now have and the education that they have? So after that, getting them to be empowered to thrive in whatever it is they choose. Get the education so that you can be competitive in the field that you choose, and then get established. And last but not least, emphasizing to youth the importance of connections and building bridges. Because if they grow up knowing that coffee is a sector that you can only succeed with good relationships with all the people in the value chain, that is something that can be nurtured from youth. Unfortunately, if it's done towards the very end of a career, it's impossible to make it work or to make it a success. So it's important also to let the youth know that there's room for everyone, as long as you stay good at your craft, stay true, stay reliable, and avoid making the mistake of trying everything out. Sometimes they come in and they want to be a roaster, they want a coffee shop, they want everything at once. It's important to guide and mentor the youth so that they pick something that works for them and they stay on their passion, and therefore it leads them eventually to thriving and excellence.
Thank you. The third question is, health crisis, price crisis, and many other challenges give us a chance to innovate and to be creative. What was your positive lesson this year? And what would you like to improve, implement, and change in your coffee activities? Rosa, please.
Well, I have learned more in these past 10 months than ever. It has been a very good school. And the main lesson that we have learned is that we have to maintain the values and above all, the purposes of why are we doing the things. The daily reminder of why has made the isolation easier, and creativity can be unfolded. So I think that's the one of the greatest lessons I have learned. That where is your purpose? Why are you doing what you are doing? We have also learned that the key is collaborative work, adding efforts. You can't do everything by yourself. So adding efforts of everyone, of your colleagues, has been a very good tool to pass through this health crisis. media and technology have made communication much easier, and we have learned also how to make it more effective. What I think that we have to improve and implement is this new thought of a collective work, because there's no other way to get through where we are living now. Market and the consumer conditions are changing every day. So we also have to learn how to adapt in order not only to respond to the crisis, but also how can we become ourselves a positive changer. So I think those are the big lessons of this crisis. I think we have been through a process where creativeness and collective work and sisterhood is the key for success and for resilience.
Thank you. Mbula, please.
Thanks. Yeah, as Rosa says, this has been a real hard knock lesson. I'm sure not many people have gone through a crisis of this kind. It's, for many people, unprecedented. And so, you know, for me, there's been a number of positive lessons as well. You know, I have had to think about what makes me do what I do. What is it that makes me do what I do? And is it an essential service? I think in around the world, that became like a common vocabulary. What is an essential service? And it made people go back to the drawing board to see, even if they were doing one particular thing, what in that thing is the essential thing? What is the most important thing about conducting courses? It's relaying education. So you do not have to meet in person, you reinvent and get into online courses, or you find ways of reaching or filling gaps that existed, that you were narrow-minded in the way that you were doing and now expanded in your mind as a result of the crisis. So it has drawn out a lot of purpose in what we do. We haven't changed everything that we do. So the initial thing is actually to pull out the real and essential things in what we do and capitalize on them in order to survive. The other thing is, this crisis has helped me think about what problem as a business we solve. And so it's easy to complain about everything that's going wrong, but it's also mature to try and find a problem to solve rather than one to complain about. And as long as someone is solving a problem, you'll always have a market, you'll always have an impact, however small. So in this crisis, identifying a problem and trying to solve it in whichever capacity has been gifted to you. The third thing is startup. I think the crisis, or a crisis such as this, forces every one of us to press the reset button and basically think of themselves or a business as a startup. Some have had to close business and start in a completely new venture. And the comforting thing about this is that it is level. It is everybody going through this at the moment. And so it's important to take advantage of this situation. And I have found that it has been useful to think about my business in that way. It's helped to get me to polish up pending areas that had been sitting on the back burner because of the routine and fast pace of everything. And this has also helped me to adapt and embrace new beginnings and polish up on what I was doing before and basically evolve it and adapt it to the new trends and the possibility of doing everything in a different way. And obviously it then helps a business to remain relevant. So how do we remain relevant has also been a positive thing as a business. We've had to sit back, pull out all our documents and just try and ensure that we are able to go through this crisis and come out strong. And that has been quite valuable.
Thank you. Well, we are reaching our last question. So women empowerment should move further. It should be amplified to our families, our communities, the coffee industry. Find the balance is key to build up the credibility. necessary to find and take opportunities. Please give us 2 suggestions to find this balance. Rose?
Well, I think we have to recognize that the work in coffee growing and coffee consumption and the coffee industry is collective. And that is the result of family and community integration. And it has to be respectful of nature and consistent with our governments and our social basis, and also to the needs of the markets. So we think that the balance has to be developed under a model of sustainability of life, and where nature has to be the first step of this new model. We also think that we have to be focused on making visible and linking and developing and also empowering the construction of an inclusive public agenda based on the personal skills, as I said before, in which each one of us can achieve effective empowerment and therefore leadership development. I think this is the way that we can make our dependence on the will of others much less. And also to get to the balance that we need, because the world is not only about us, it has to be a community made world. So balance for me has to be in this recognition of a collective work.
Thank you. Mbula, please.
I totally agree with Rosa. One of the areas I think institutions, organizations get it wrong is to try and exclude other people from the process. It's so important to get buy-in from all participants in a process in order for it to succeed. And to strike that balance, you have to have all hands on deck. So I would agree with involving both men and women. It's important to have both men and women agreeing and accepting that woman empowerment is important. Without that collaboration or collective thinking, then it becomes an exercise in futility. And I think not only men and women, the entire family needs to see that it's, anyone, whether you're a different gender in the family, you can do, you can thrive and you can do whatever it is you choose to do, and you can get empowered in it. So I'm just going to talk about it in the coffee sphere, but I think it cuts across different sectors. So showing the family, showing both genders and other genders the gains of having an equitable and empowered society, everyone equally, I think can really contribute to the bigger picture, because the rewards of the efforts are there for all to see. I also think it's important to always go back to when the issue of women empowerment and gender equity came up. It had to be kind of backed up and enforced by an institution like the United Nations to bring in their Millennium Development Goals more than 20 years ago, and later in the Sustainable Development Goals, still bring up the issue of gender equity and women empowerment. And this shows us the relevance and importance of this in the grand scheme of things. We're talking global development. So because these are part of global goals that ensure real tangible development, they should obviously and definitely be weaved into our socialization in families and communities. And when it comes to the workplace, it should be part and parcel of our orientation and standard operating procedures in the coffee industry. And lastly, teaching children from a very early age the importance of having everyone empowered. No discrimination for any reason, just bring them up knowing this. So this becomes a culture and a way of life. And any prejudice will easily be seen and shunned. When they don't know that this is what should be the norm, then it becomes very difficult to change that perception later on in life. And so it should start from a young age so that it makes the work a little bit easier for leadership and management and boards to open up and encourage equal participation and empowerment of women, because the only way they can succeed is if there is an understanding and a culture from a very young age that empowerment of women is important for the overall growth of an industry or a community. So this would then send a very clear message that this is the only way, there's no other way, like there are no two ways about it. And so the execution part of everything becomes much easier, and then it becomes easier to work seamlessly on that. So I'll give an example of training courses. I think I mentioned it earlier on. Women empowerment sometimes needs a little bit of a pull, a little bit of a jolt, a little bit of an emphasis and a requirement with the people who are organizing, with the people who are selecting participants, because by nature, women are not known to go and jostle around for positions and fight, and it becomes a little bit difficult just given the nature. So in order to ensure that it happens, it has to be a combined effort, and institutions, organizers, powerful people in powerful positions on some of these issues must give a very firm hand and a firm direction on how this should happen. And I believe that would really help. I've seen it work. I've seen it work in Africa, where you actually go out of your way to insist and you differentiate the data after courses. It becomes a little bit embarrassing when it's only certain people represented on the list, and you find that the next time you go for the course, they even tell you, hey, you told us that we needed to bring more women for this empowerment, and so we have done it. And so it's an actual, it's not to be assumed, it's something that has to be actively brought to the table and actively pushed in order for it to happen. So that I think would be the best way to get that balance and continuously insist on it. Use this data to signify growth. At the end, it should not be we trained 200 people at the end of the year. It's we trained this number of men and this number of women, which could be the same 200 people, but at least it shows that there is a little bit of a difference in the way the information has been shared. And that is a true demonstration of success in women empowerment.
Thank you very much. So now we are open
Thanks.
for questions. Is there any questions for Rosa or Mbula? On chat, don't have any. We have a comment from Josiane. Viva Mexico. Beautiful, Rosy. Well, does anyone want to make a question? So girls, feel free to give us a last message, and we are almost done.
Well, first of all, again, thank you for the invitation and sharing with you the space. I have to put myself on an English mode so I can speak more fluently, as you can see now. Anyway, it has been a very good experience. I think that what we can see here is that what happens to women in Africa, in Brazil, or in Mexico is almost the same problems, are almost the same problems, are almost the same challenges that we're facing now. So this kind of exercises and panels are very useful for us to check out what is the models and the answers that our sisters made for herself. So thank you very much. I also want you to invite to the Coffee Summit. We will be holding our third forum. Isabel is going to be there. Thank you very much, Isabel. And also many chapters around the world are going to be talking to us to have this exchange. There is is enriching our work. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Rosy, we have a question for you. It's Blanca Castro asking about Cumbre this weekend.
Exactly, that's what I was talking about. We're having our third forum, Women in Coffee Forum. This time is 100% virtual, so it gave us the opportunity to share with sisters in Nicaragua, in Guatemala, in the United States, Brazil, Ethiopia, Filipinas, a lot of experiences. Also, we are going to have a premiere of a video that was done with a university in the United States, and it's the view of the children in the coffee lands. So it's going to be very nice. It was made in Oaxaca, Mexico, and it involved the families to do so. So it's going to give us a new perspective of one of your questions, for example, how can we involve the youth in this sector, is by recognizing how they view the life in a coffee farm. So I think it's going to be a very good event. I have been supported with IWCA Global by Blanca, by Maria Boto, and so I'm inviting you to assist to the summit this week.
Sure. Thank you. Flavia Lacerda asked, what the ladies are doing in both of countries to empowerment of women inside the coffee chain? Mbula?
Thank you. I mentioned earlier that women empowerment has to be intentional. It's one of the things that has been so far behind, that to get to a level of equity, there has to be an intentional push by people in areas of authority, starting with involving women in decision making, involving women in boards, assigning women board positions, getting them to actually be decision makers so that they can be game changers. So I think that's one of the most important things. And then for empowerment, it's really ensuring that participants in trainings or in workshops or in activities that are supposed to be building capacity, that the participants are disaggregated. There has to be a clear column for men and women so that it's visible to everybody when they receive that document that this is unbalanced if at all it is. And if it has involved women, then it's going to be obvious to everybody. So just the mere fact of putting it out there in the sign-in sheet that you need to say if you're male or female or any other gender, then that makes people start to think about it. It's easy to ignore when you don't see it every day you're signing in. And so disaggregation of data is a way that can be helped or solved. And lastly, I would say calling on women, reaching out directly and encouraging women to participate, encouraging women to apply. I think that's one of the things I've seen that is most successful in the quest for gender equity. I've seen, proposals put out there, events or activities that are seeking beneficiaries, putting it out there that women are especially encouraged to apply. There's nothing that encourages potential women who are actually eligible more than seeing that, because now they know that they will be presenting themselves based on their capacity, on their ability, and that they have been allowed a space on the table. And so literally calling out that and ensuring that they are involved at every level, especially if it is being conducted by either a woman or a man who's progressive and open enough to allow both men and women. That would help a lot in ensuring that women participate and get empowered equally, if not more, in their spaces.
Thank you. So, yes, that's it. Is there any other question? I think there is not a question anymore. So this is the end of the second round. So today at 6 p.m. at Brazilian time, we are going to have the third round. It will be roasting by Flavia Lacerda, which is here with us, watching and making questions as well. So thank you very much, girls. I appreciate you here with us, and keep doing your work well to get the women together in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All the best with the rest. We will be asleep, so enjoy the rest of,
Nice.
of the day's conference.
Thank you. Thank you very much. See you
Thank
this
you.
weekend.
See you soon. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.